My name is Robin Winter, and I'm going to be reading from Future Past, which is a dystopian science fiction novel that came out with Eternal Press May 1st of 2013. This is the first chapter, and Chapter 1, Melit, Sudan, 2058 CE. He stood naked, shivering like a panicked horse, the cold sweat streaking his flanks. I too sweated inside my environmental suit, but not from the heat. His blue shadow ran lean upon the floor, merging into mine. He was the best of us, and tonight we would spend him. In a month or less, our lines would break, our free world would fall. Back home among our bright cities, who could believe such heresy? How could they conceive of the black change pouring over the seething world, a world too complacent to have sent flesh and blood to fight? Waves of followers rose against us, passionate and bitter, hungry and righteous. Less than 100 miles from the front, we knew technology failed, that machines could do no more. We could already taste our broken teeth. War forced us back to what human beings can do. I took his hand by the fingers in my gloved grip, turning it over to take a skin scraping. My reader confirmed him, matching his DNA signature to the chip embedded in his wrist skin under the tattoo. I must perform exactly. I'd scripted every move. I pressed the auto monitor to his finger. The numbers checked. I stepped to the insulated carrying case by the door and opened it with a one-use combination, removing the plastic and glass administrator, a multicolored jewel winking in my glove. I turned and jolted to a stop, for he looked at me, and he could see me. Something happens in the eyes of another man who sees you, divergent from any rote reflex the body possesses, and recognizing it stopped my breath. I had focused so intently on medical procedure that I hadn't noticed. No support field shimmered around his head. He stood unrestrained. He must have requested it. Even with his special status, he shouldn't have his freedom. Not in this night. Not in this room. He shouldn't be awake. I stared, my heart pounding, as I tried to detect what could have gone wrong. He was the right man. He could be no other. Everything fit the codes. The descriptions in his files, the visual footage in my archives. The differences I noted seemed insignificant. His eyes appeared large in his bony face, wide open and hazel gray, lashes black against the wet-marked pallor of his skin. Dark brows arched strongly. The beginnings of a beard shadowed his cheeks, and his nostrils flared. His strong body of good bone and proportion, fit, loomed as a nervous quiver flickered across his skin. Yet the way he stood, his feet firm planted and his shoulders straight, belied the other signs. He wouldn't let panic ride him. He held his lips so tightly pressed that the area around his mouth showed white under the natural swarthiness of his skin. They'd tied his long hair back from his face, and I could see the darkening of sweat in it, too. I couldn't move, and dared not, looking into his knowing eyes. Then he dropped his gaze and held out his arm as willingly as though he had a choice. I moved, pressed the glass needles into the offered skin, gave him his dose, and stepped back. Done. Would he let me go? Was I his price? Had he brought himself here awake so that he could take me with him? It was terrible enough to be in a room with the most dangerous man in the world, but that he knew he was, that he met my eyes and knew me, seemed impossible, obscene. All his precursors, my experimental subjects, had been hypnotized, triple sedated with our best drugs. They might be volunteers, but I'd never seen one walk into this room before, under his own power. I told myself the numbers checked, the DNA matched. There could be no error. I stepped back another pace. He let me go. He stood and watched. I backed through the double doors. They slapped shut before the decontamination sprays hit my suit from all sides. I let my body slump inside the shell as my heart slowed. The man's image wavered in the fluids running over my visor. Space. After I'd showered, shaved, and dressed, I rejoined the other scientists in the lounge. At the west window, gray and black fuzzed together, leaving no trace of sun on the horizon. Tonight the wind didn't move over the sullen, rumpled barrens, presenting a world breathless with the shock of desert cold. Holding an ice glass of water, my skin felt tight with cleanliness and soap, my mouth dry with the aftermath of tension. "Ash, do you want to see him off?" Sarah asked. I turned from my window. Sarah stood slender in her black smock. No longer in laboratory gear, her honey-dark elegance jolted me. She had loosed her curling black hair over her shoulders, and I thought she nearly smiled at me. "Look," Sarah said, lifting her chin to indicate the direction. I crossed over to her side. Behind me, in that warm, bright room with its comfortable chairs and colored pillows, I felt the other men and women shift, joining us at the north window to look down into the night. No one spoke. As rational scientists, what was there for anyone to say? The door at the end of the long tube behind us opened, spilling light. His black lit shadow spread across the sand. I watched him exit the round mouth. Leaving it open behind him, he walked without pause, his black robes moving fluidly around him. In a mile, he would come upon the air car left for him, yet of his own people he would know no more. I was the last, I realized, the last of his own kind he would ever see. For the free world, I said, like a prayer. It could have been me if I'd not had a flaw. It should have been me.